I got to have a lot of power at the factory. It probably will sound very odd to you that somebody can have worked in a factory for 40 years and not care about anybody else who works there. And that's what I kept running into. There'd be an opening in a department, and by then I knew a lot of the people because I would come down 2 hours before my afternoon there, and I would meet with people in various parts of the factory. To be a studio potter in clay and have your own studio, you have to know as much as the guy who runs the factory. Because we do exactly the same thing, except that nothing is mass produced. I was going to make a point and now I lost my point. It was very exciting. I got to be, they all used to kid me, a ceramic consultant. I was the only person there who knew how to use the equipment on all 3 floors of the factory, because I had scaled down pieces of equipment in my studio for making my 6 pots a month that I made. And so when something went wrong with it, I either knew how to fix it or I knew who to call. And so I really got to be very valuable to him. And every time I talked to him, he'd raise my pay. Although I still, to the 21st year I was there, I got my $25 for my Christmas present. Because he always said, I don't like to spoil the people who work for me. And that meant they had no health insurance, they had no hospital insurance. But if somebody working at Metlock's Pottery had a heart attack, he was at the hospital in that small community the day that person was brought in. He would sign for their bill. All of this direct giving from one person to another, he was a master at. And then after he would do one of these things where he would pay a $15,000 hospital bill for somebody, I just have to tell you, I think in that factory there were 25 different key people. If people had to do more than a full day's work, they'd say, oh, this is too much for me. I need an assistant. So there were employees galore. Half of them didn't work. And the boss never really knew, because everybody there was in cahoots. Everybody wanted to do something to get even with him. So I ended up coming to the design meeting every Tuesday for years, until I finally said, if there is one more discussion of what we can do to Evan Shaw to make him more miserable than he is, I'm going to leave. And I was really the corridor person between him and the design department. I could get him to do anything. I would just have to call him, tell him the whole situation. Then after I told him, he'd say, could you write this all out for me and put it in the mail? He's the one who told me I had to have email. He was living from email. And then I got a computer and I would send him email. Really the least knowledgeable person in that whole factory, with 164 people, was me. But I had the greatest effect on what happened to everybody there. I had a chance twice to convince him to take on 2 potters I knew who were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in their 20s. They knew a tremendous amount about clay, but they couldn't get around. They were all motorized equipment. And I convinced him that he would have a guaranteed sit in heaven. He would give these two marvelous young men a chance to work in the factory and have a salary, and be able to live like men instead of handicapped people for the rest of their life. They came in, he agreed, and I never knew, in all the years I dealt with him, I never knew what his reaction to a situation would be. It's such odds in our living style, in our relationships with people, that it is very hard for me. And I want to introduce my son Michael, who's here. Michael, can you sing?